They been cramping my style all week. Craving chocolate trees, checking pants, checking seeds, sipping herbal tea and fight for menstrual equity. Jeez, hey, I kick cramps ass. 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 You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, May 27th, and welcome to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast, where I'm your host, Brittany Walker. We are in Season 2, Episode 12, where it is The Red Connection with the United States of America, Mrs. Nevada 2024. So we have Maria Lee, which we'll be bringing on in just a moment. We're so excited to do this interview today. But of course, with it being May, this is the last Monday in May. So we're wrapping up all the awareness months. May is Menstruation Month. It is Women's Health Month. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And actually tomorrow, May 28th, is going to be Menstrual Hygiene Day, which you know we've been promoting all month long. And our episode that was on April 29th was with Ina Jerga with the Menstrual Hygiene Day organization, guys. So we're so excited about everything that May has going on. Now, you know we like to kick off each episode with the I Am Power Statement. I representing inspiration, A representing affirmation, and M representing manifestation. And today's I Am Power Statement is, I am open to speaking more about my perspective regarding menstruation in an effort to stay connected with my fellow menstruators and not make this subject a taboo. Ashe. So there it is. So, you know, we also like to give a quote of the day. And today's is, keep your vitality. A life without health is like a river without water. And that's by Maxime Lagacé. All right, guys. So, you know, we typically also like to have our tea of the day. We also always have our branded cup with our cramp elixir. But with today's guest, we decided to pull out a vintage goblet cup that I inherited from my grandparents' wedding back in the 30s. So we're going to sip on our little goblet and we're going to go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Have you tried our bestseller, the Cramp Elixir? It's our herbal tea blend designed to reduce and eliminate menstrual cramps, PMS symptoms, and other uterine health issues that are hindering your day-to-day progress. Our elixir may decrease inflammation, reduce stress and anxiety, regulate blood flow, balance your mood, and it can kick cramps ass. It includes a variety of herbs including hibiscus, red raspberry leaf, calendula, motherwort, ashwagandha, plus more. Head over to kickcrampsass.org and grab yours today. Now, back to the show. Welcome back, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed that quick little commercial. So we're so excited about today's guests. We have Maria Lee, who is the United States of America, Mrs. Nevada 2024. She was crowned this year, and she is dedicating her reign to making the world a more period positive place. Through her platform called The Red Connection, she aims to connect menstruators to the period supplies and education that they need. Please welcome Maria Lee to the podcast. Hello, Maria.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How are you today?
How are you? I am so happy you invited me to the podcast. It's such an honor to be talking about this with you.
Awesome. We are so honored to have you on today. And let's go ahead and get started. So may you please tell us more about the Red Connection, the campaign that you are working on?
Yes. So the Red Connection is what I'm going to dedicate my reign to this whole year. And I named it the Red Connection because I want to connect. I want to connect menstruators to the period supplies that they need, to the information that they need, to the empowerment that they need. I used to focus primarily on product donation. So what that would be was I would collaborate with the small businesses and they would together we would host pad drives there. And I've been doing that in the beginning of last year. But now I'm thinking about pivoting. What I want to do is start getting pads and period supplies in bathrooms. Start having small businesses consider having them, because so many of us have experienced starting our period in public and we didn't have our period supplies. Now, you know, this is true. Okay.
Yes.
So my angle now is trying to tell the small businesses, hey, you want your customers to stay in your business. Why not consider having some pads and or tampons or something in the bathroom, and that would help you retain your customers, have them stay longer in your business. So I'm starting that this month. So that's what the Red Connection is up to as of right now.
That is amazing. We love everything that you're talking about because now that I think about back in my corporate America days, it
Mm,
wasn't that easy to get accessibility to period products, not even talking about menstruation or even giving us the opportunity to have like paid time off because of something we deal with each month. So that's one of the reasons in my doctoral program that I'm working on, that's what my dissertation is going to be based around, like organizational culture and menstruation. Like, how can we merge the two together? So you doing the Red Connection is such an amazing initiative, and we love everything about it. So, what goals do you envision for the Red Connection as a platform to positively impact menstrual equity? Is there anything past that you want to do in addition to adding the period products in organizations to have that accessibility?
definitely. One thing that I am working so hard on is getting people to feel more comfortable about talking about their periods. There is still this stigma, there is still this shame. And I will say one thing that really got me was when, and this is other women too, I would tell them about my platform. Like, hey, I am trying to promote a more period positive world. And they would kind of be like, periods. I'm like, girl, listen, don't. I know I shouldn't think like that. However, of all people, I would have, I would think that women would feel at least comfortable to talk about periods amongst ourselves. But even
Right.
then, no, it is a taboo topic. It is considered dirty. And I don't know why, because that is the source of life. It is beautiful, it's natural, and it's something that our body does to, and it's needed to create life. So don't, I want to shatter that. So that is one of my big goals, is to start that conversation and doing podcasts like this, talking about it, doing presentations in schools, or speaking to just young girls about their periods is what another thing I'm focusing on as of right now with the Red Connection. Yep.
Absolutely love that. I find it baffling when people that have been menstruating for years and years, we're talking about decades now, and they still frown up at the thought of menstruation. It's like, you have to do it each month. Why is it such a bad thing to talk about? And the fact that you're wanting to destigmatize the taboo, which is the purpose of this podcast, and a lot of menstrual equity companies globally, we're just wanting to throw the thought out that this is natural. It is beautiful. It is the first rite of passage with womanhood, which is something that one of my previous guests, the owner of Moonion, Leslie Mitchell, she mentioned that it's the first rite of passage. It welcomes us into womanhood. So we need to be able to embrace that and then make it easier for our younger generations to embrace it as well, so they can have the proper education and mentality to really deal with menstruation.
I will say this, the younger generation seems so much more open to talking about this. I don't know if it's because they have social media or the internet,
Yep.
but there's not that as much resistance to talking about it as much as people of my generation.
Yes.
But I'm getting up there. But yeah, absolutely not. This topic would absolutely not be discussed about. It would be not suitable for polite audiences, and that we would not be having this conversation many years ago. But now we can, and we're doing it, and I'm so happy to see this.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think that as well with the younger generation. I'm an 80s baby, so I'm an OG millennial. You know, I'm like, okay, tapping into 40s. I know a lot of us are OG millennials or early 40s. We're like, we didn't have that accessibility when we were younger. You know, we had that basic health class in like fourth grade. They gave you
Mm-mm.
the cardboard tampon
Yep.
sample, and
Oh,
that's about it. And then you figure out everything else as you go along the way. If you have certain pains, if you have certain symptoms, it's like, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to deal with. Yeah, like no, you're not supposed to be having pains like that. So I love everything that you're doing. Let's talk about what influenced you to advocate for menstrual equity and period poverty. Like you said, so many people make it a taboo. It's so disgusting. You know, we have people in other countries that are killing, you know, menstruators and things of that sort. So what truly
mhm.
made you be so passionate about this specific initiative?
I am a speech language pathologist. So part of my job is I travel around the valley and I work with different families, different backgrounds, different cultures, different religions, anything you can think of. And I noticed something unusual was happening. When I was working with the child, the older sibling, the girl, or even the mom,
Mhm.
they would feel comfortable around me. And eventually they would ask, "Hey, Miss Maria, do you happen to have a pad?" And I said, "Oh, sure." Now, here's the funny thing. I always do have a pad because I have very heavy pad. I do actually, anyway, before any of this, because I have heavy periods. So I was like,
Mhm.
I cannot afford to not have a pad on me. So I just so happen to always have some on me. But anyway, and I would give it to them. And I would notice a pattern. And one day, a little girl finally told me, "Hey, Miss Maria, da 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 da, do you have a pad? Thanks." And just offhand, she was like, "Yeah, my mom couldn't afford pads this month because she had to make a choice between food or pads, so she bought food." And I said, "What did you say? What did you say?" And she's like, "Yeah, no." I was like, "Nothing, just I just couldn't afford it. So thank you for giving me pads." I was like, "Oh no!" Now, the sauce in this, what really drives me, was
Yeah.
that the girls that kept asking me look like me and you. So
Yep.
that always, sorry, see, I always have to take a break when I say that. Every time I tell the story, it just always gets me, whew, they look like me and you.
Hmm.
So that was not acceptable. So I had to do more research. I was just like, can't afford pads. And I found out period poverty. And it was especially affecting brown and black girls harder than ever. Because unfortunately, where there is poverty, there's period poverty. And I said, no, no. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then I did more research, and then I went to places like there's this local organization here called Project 150, which serves homeless teens. And they just also kept mentioning to me, "We keep running out of pads. We can't stock them. We don't have any. Do you have it? Can you ask people to donate them?" I said, "What? What is going on?" No, I said no. And I made a deal with the universe. If I want to get weird like this, I made a deal with the universe. If I'm given this crown, I will not shut up about this. And they said, "Okay."
That's
So they
not
gave me the
weird. That's that
microphone.
manifestation. That's not That's not
That
weird.
manifestation. So they done gave me this microphone, and I'm gonna talk into it. So that was what influenced me to speak out about menstrual equity, period poverty, trying to make this world a more positive place, because it's not spoken enough about. People are ashamed to talk about this. How are we going to solve this if we don't talk about it? So that's how I started all of this.
Absolutely. That is such a beautiful story, and it's more prevalent than what people want to talk about and
Hmm.
discuss. I was shocked at the same thing, like you said, doing research over the latter years and finding out how many people had to choose, am I going to have lunch money or am I going to have pads this week?
Yep.
You know, or people that I've found a lot of teenagers that they're playing more of like the mom role because they're in a single parent household with their mom is working 2 or 3 jobs. So it's like mom's trying to afford this, or, you know, it's just really sad and unfortunate that this is what's going on in the world. And anything that we could do to bring light to it and try to help out these individuals is what we're both, I know, trying to work on.
Yeah, definitely. And
Absolutely.
so many of us menstruate, but yet the pads are just not in the bathroom. And I can't help another thing and I don't know how to verbalize this, but it just seems like something that women need is just, it's just not even important. Our needs are not. important. I know that's not, I don't, I guess it's not meant to be that. It just feels like it's just such a second thought.
It's and that it's not something that happens on a daily basis because we're not all menstruating at the same time. Think about the capacity of like a school, or even think like the United States military. Like think about all the different women that are involved in different times and things that just need to be more humanized and just really consider like, guys, this is an issue for us.
Yeah.
And we need to do something about it. You just can't brush it under the rug and say,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to stop you from menstruating or stop bleeding until we figure this out. It doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that. And I can't help but think that if it was men who had to menstruate, that you know that the pads would be in the bathroom.
The
Okay.
pads would be
It's just
there. The girl, they'll have all the different, the regular, the thins, the thick, the overnight. They're going to have the organic, the bamboo, and the ones with chemicals and everything else.
they would have a choice. They would have like the free vending machine of all the pads,
Yes.
tampons, different absorbencies, everything they need. It would be right there if it was men. But because it's women, and we always try to, well, just keep plugging along. We're strong. We don't have to. We'll just figure it out. Yeah, but we don't have to live like that anymore. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one thing that I love about what our mission is. And it's just not the podcast. The podcast is just a service. We want to have multiple products, multiple programs, multiple services to not only cater to those who can afford, but for us to be able to use that money and then donate and give back to those that are less fortunate so they can have a period scholarship where we give them their pads for the year or all the supplies that they need for the year, making sure that if you are a student or you military, okay, we have a membership program where you get 20% off of all your products and services. It's not just, oh, let's have a podcast and let's talk about it. I know we're both trying to make really big moves to diminish this issue that I didn't even know was prevalent until a few years ago. It was shocking to me to find out how many people really have to reuse their pads.
Yeah.
They're having to get old underwear and stack it on top of each other to use it as their homemade pads. It's it's just ridiculous, to be honest.
Diapers as well. I have some. One told me that they reuse their son's diapers and they dry off his the one that he peed on, dry it off and reuse that.
Yeah,
Because both of them are expensive. Diapers and pads are expensive. So I
exactly.
get that. I don't. I was like, that's real rough, man.
That
But
is rough.
mm.
What advice did your elders provide to you to prepare you for and to manage your menstrual cycle?
When I started my period when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing my mom said, she threw me a pad that was too big for me. That was so bulky.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, I'm a woman now, don't get pregnant, and that you're going to have to use these pads for the rest of your life. I said, now? What is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the internet back then, so I couldn't find more information.
Right.
I kept wearing these bulky pads that were too uncomfortable. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie, because I wasn't given any other information, I'm not going to lie to you, I resented my periods for a while because it was inconvenient for me. I had
Absolutely.
to stop certain things like swimming. I couldn't play around during my period. Well, one, because I didn't know that I don't have to wear bulky pads, but okay. I was embarrassed to go places because I was wearing these uncomfortable pads.
Right.
The pain, not really much information. My mom, it's not her fault because she herself wasn't taught anything either. There was no information. So I would hate to say this, but growing up, it was seen as a nuisance. It took lots of years of trial on my own because you can't talk about this. So we couldn't talk
Right.
about this. I couldn't just ask somebody anything. I didn't have an older sister to get more information. So I had to do a lot of trial and error and find out
Mhm.
my own methods of what I should do during my period. But fortunately, as time went on, I started being able to understand my period. I started managing it better. And now I see it as just a time for myself. I see it as a
Yeah.
time to within, to just do feminine activities such as journaling, eating nice pieces of chocolate, drinking teas, that kind of thing. I just take it as a me time, a downtime. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Here's a fun fact for everybody.
Yeah.
Since I got you guys, when I was competing for my pageant, the pageant day, my
Mhm.
period started right on that day. Yes, as I was in my swim, I was getting ready to put on my bikini swimsuit gown, and then I saw my
Wow.
period there. I said, "Oh man, good thing my bikini is red because here we go." I did have pads on. I had pads on deck too, so that was a fun, fun fact. I
Nice.
still won
Oh,
anyway.
I
I
was gonna
still won.
say you won on your
Yes,
period
I
as it
did
started
win
in the middle of the
everything.
competition. Oh my God.
Yes,
Now that's a
I love
story.
telling that story. I love telling that story. I was like, yes. I was like, you would. Okay, then let's go then.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned about the periods being a
Yes.
nuisance because I felt the same way. It was an inconvenience when I was younger. Same thing with my mom. It was one of those. My mom was out of town with my grandma, and I was at home with my dad and my brother.
Oh
My
no.
brother act like he could not touch a pad, like
Yes.
people knew that you were going to be able to use it for yourself. And then my
Yes.
dad's like, "Oh, it's okay, baby." And he comes home with like, "Here's overnight, here's this, here's the panty liner, here's the tampons, just whatever they told you in health school, you're going to be okay." And even once my mom came home, even with her being in the medical field, we didn't really sit
Mm-mm.
down and say, "Hey, this is that." It was just like, "Girl, it's the woman curse, so you're gonna be
It's
cramping.
the woman's curse.
I have a
Yes.
heavy flow, so you're gonna have a heavy flow. I
Yes.
had all these issues, you're gonna have these issues." Like my mom and grandma even had fibroids, and I didn't even find that out till last year. And I'm like,
I found
okay,
that
I
out.
wrote this book 2 years ago. I've been a nutritionist for this long. Um, why are you just now telling me that you had fibroids? Like, what's going on? So
Oh
it just
no.
wasn't the conversation, like you said, coming from me being the 80s baby. My mom was born in the 50s. My grandma was born in the 30s. So it was just, hey, here's your pad. You're a woman now. Keep it moving. And
Yep.
if you find out something different along the way, it was knowledge that I learned from a friend. Even my older sister had the same experience, so I couldn't learn nothing different from her because she was told the same thing I was told. So it was really, like you said, trial and error. Now you see nowadays is so many menstrual education programs, all these different content that you can find online now. And I'm like, yeah, we didn't have that option
No.
when I was growing up. Like, not
No.
at all. Not at
Nothing else.
all.
But yes, I remember now that jogged the memory. The woman's curse. I remember hearing that term. My mom didn't use it, but I would hear that floating around in circles. The woman's curse. So then I always just had this negative feeling of surrounding periods. Like I said, I was like, oh my gosh, why do we do this? Why do we have to have periods? I can't do the stuff I want to do because I have my period. This is just
Right.
it's a curse basically. But that
Exactly.
was due because I didn't have the right information. I don't see it as a curse. Look, I just said I won a pageant in my period. It's not a curse. It doesn't hold you back. Okay. If anything,
Right. Right. The other thing I was going to say before moving forward was the interesting thing about you starting your period. They say, well, let me not say they, if you are into astrology, if
yes.
you research things like how you were saying, oh, it could be weird to manifest this. I'm all into all of that crystal
Oh, me
healing,
too.
manifestations, all that astrology. But it is known in ancient African history that the best things happen to you on the day that you start your menstruation, and you can manifest power with the first day of your cycle. So I just look at that as like a power manifestation that just came into fruition for you. So I love that you started
I
your
love.
period.
I completely believe. I do believe women are very powerful on their period, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yes,
We are very we have very strong powers during our period. I know there's some cultures that believe the blood of the period is very potent for manifestation for things like of that nature.
of
So yeah,
course.
yes, that's why it was so feared. But that's a different topic.
That's a different topic for another day. I love it though.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, guys. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll be right back. Welcome to kickcrampsass.org. Now, feel free to subscribe and get 15% off. By doing so, you're subscribing to our newsletter and you receive the latest news, resources, and updates. We appreciate you for connecting with us, so we want to get you with 15% off on your first order. So go ahead and leave your first name, your last name, and your email address, and you'll have this 50% off coupon that you can use towards your first order. Now, back to the show. All right, welcome back, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed that quick commercial break. Now, Maria, as a mother, is there anything you will do differently to prepare your daughter for her menstrual cycle or your son for his future relationships? I love to ask the question to people that I know that are closer to my age or even older about their elders. And we all kind of have the same story. So I'm like, well, what are we going to do different with our children? Because people just think about their daughters, but I'm like, think about your son, his future wife. Maybe he might be a manager one day. He might have to have employees that are women, his sister, even, understanding his mom. So what do you think you would do differently that the elders didn't teach us?
One thing that we do as a family, we actually do this as a family, is we help out with period packing. So there's organizations here. Yes, there's organizations here in Vegas, such as Project Maryland, Project Dot. And what we do is, as a family, we get together with the organizations and we set like an hour or two and we help with the packing of the periods. And it starts such good conversation. My son in the beginning would ask, like, he's like, what? So what is this? And I was like, it's a pad for when, I say mommy, when people like mommy bleed. And he doesn't quite get that part, but he knows that he is helping other women. So he's not afraid to touch it. Because, yes, I grew up as well. Men were afraid to touch pads. I have no idea. I remember that too. I remember little boys being afraid of pads. So he's not afraid to touch it. And he knows that it's something that that people like mommy need. I will explain to him later that not all women menstruate and not all people who but just for now, because he's young, I'll explain that later. And my daughter's also involved in it as well. And for her, I even showed it to her. I opened it and I showed her. I use the ones with wings because I need that extra protection. Right. And I show her the ones with the wings, and she's like, "Oh, okay." So she knows, and I tell her one day she will bleed too, and it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a little woman's day. I was already planning it. I was thinking, oh my gosh, when my daughter starts her period, I want to take her out this little cute cafe called Cafe Lola's, and where I was gonna get her nails done. Oh my god, it's gonna be such an event. I want to make it super, super positive. I want her to celebrate her femininity. I want her to celebrate this experience to this the gateway to, well, I want to say gateway, but like, I experienced this part of being a woman. It's beautiful. It's glorious. So yes, I want to make it a big thing. I already have it in my head. That's what I would love for me to do. We're gonna have so much. We're gonna dress together. We're gonna wear red. My daughter's very shy, so she's just like me. She's a different, a smaller version of me, so she will love it. She will love it.
I love that because I see nowadays people are having like menses parties and things to do. So just having like a mommy and me day and like a mommy, me and menses day. Oh, look at that. A mommy, me and menses. MMM.
Okay, hold on. We got to do something with that. Mommy,
me and menses.
Me and menses. Oh my God, we should do something with that.
Yeah. Look, we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that.
That's something, I'm gonna let that cook in my brain. I'm gonna do something with that. Okay, go ahead.
Because once we had the thought and we write it down, that's the first step to manifestation. Now we just got to plan it out and add action to it. So I'm here for it.
Let me play around with that, but go ahead. Yeah,
I think that would be that's just a beautiful thing that you want to do for your daughter. And I think, not trying to tell people how to parent because I don't have any kids, so I have no right to tell anybody how to parent. I'm just an auntie of several and godmother of several. However, I think that would be a great idea for mothers or guardians. If you are an aunt or a godmother and you play a very prevalent role in those individuals' lives, like spend that time with them. Ease them into it, celebrate it, let them know that, hey, it might feel painful now. There's ways around it. You have to make it more acceptable. And I think that'll be easier to talk about when you have it like how we said it was the curse, it was this, then we're automatically gonna be like, ugh, each time it comes around, instead of you tracking your period. You're like, okay, I'm feeling moody today. My period's starting in a week. Let me make sure I do what I need to do. Let me have my regimen. Let me have my ritual so I can prepare. And it doesn't have to be a nasty thing. It can be a very beautiful, easygoing thing. Like how you said, you make that your self-love time. I think that's an amazing recommendation that other people can follow as well.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, I just want my daughter to just feel positive about something that naturally happens to her body. I don't want her to have this stigma. Oh my gosh, this is a curse. I don't want to. I can't talk about this. This is something bad. I want her to be like, well, look at what my body's doing naturally. Look at
Right.
all the celebration about my body. I love this. This is great. This is beautiful. And then she can do it to her children. I wanted to be the one to stop that curse, so to speak,
Right.
in my family. I wanted to be the one to stop it. So
Yeah, break
that's
that
what I do.
generation.
But we're very period positive over here.
I love it. And then everything you had said about your son, absolutely love it. As he gets older, like you said, you can give a little more information, a little more. I actually had a client recently do a review. I met him at a vendor opportunity that I was vending at. And he said, "Oh my God, my sister has endometriosis really bad. And she's always complaining about it. Like, that's the one thing she complains about in life." And so he was like, "Let me have this book. I'm gonna buy this tea, I'm gonna buy this bath potion, and then let's see what happens." So then he wrote me back and was like, "Hey, she's not having cramps as bad. Her flow went from 14 days to 7 days." Like he was giving me all the things that she's trying just to make a better menstrual journey. And for him to be the brother, thought about his sister. He doesn't even have daughters yet. He's like, okay, I told her when she's done with the book, run it back my way because once I have kids, then I can educate them on what to do. So I think it's just amazing for us to not so much be focused on, oh, yeah, we got to focus on the menstruators, but we have to focus on their loved ones too and preparing them on how to tend to your mom, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend, your coworker, and what levels and boundaries to know, like what not to cross, what, hey, do you need help? Don't expect me to get up and be cooking and cleaning on that first.
Beautiful. That
Yeah,
is really.
too.
I'm really happy to hear that. I love hearing those stories where like, the male is like, okay,
Yes,
what do I need to do? How can I help? That is so beautiful. That right there is the step in the right direction I want to hear. So good. Love
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. So, what is one thing that you know now about your menstrual cycle that was not relayed to you as a teenager? So, you said you did a lot of trial and error. Maybe
Yes.
describe maybe a couple of those options that you had to figure out on your own.
I had to figure out to slow down during my period week because since I wasn't told anything, look, we are not like men in that aspect that we cannot just keep plugging, pushing. We don't have the same amount of energy. We don't have the same amount of strength. I can even see it in the gym. When I'm not on my period, I can lift certain amount of weights. When I'm
Yes.
on my period, no, absolutely not. So I learned that that is the time for me to slow down. Like you said, do the self care, um, go within, do journaling, do my meditations, things like that. Pampering, all of that needs to be done on that week. I like to schedule my beauty appointments during this week. I get my hair, my nails done. I do my facials. I do that on my own. I like to take that time during my week. I had to learn that the hard way. I would completely burn myself out during my period week, and it would make me feel even worse because I'm trying to do all this stuff and I have my period. This is why I don't like having my period, because I can't do everything that I usually do. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to take that. That's a downtime. That's what I had to learn. And it took me many years to learn that. I'm going to tell my daughter that
Yeah.
too. I'm going to tell my son that. Well, hey, if your girlfriend, your wife is on her period, it's downtime. If she feels that she needs it. I know everybody's different. But for the most part, most of the women that I'm around, we all agree. We're kind of like, yeah, we don't do that during our period. We just kind of just sit and eat dark chocolate and drink our tea, curl up with a good book. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it is. But that's one thing that I had to learn the hard way with also that there's different types of pads. I keep going on. We don't need to wear the bulky pads. There's other things. There's other options out there. Okay, there's ultra thin. Try the ultra thin. They're good. I'm kept buying the big thick pads. That was so uncomfortable. Okay, sorry. All right, that's another. Okay, sorry. But yes, I had to learn. I learned quickly that once I started having my own money, I can
Yep.
buy my own pads the way that I want it. There, that's what different
Yes. I'm
kinds.
going to start with this subject and go back to the one you said about time. Yes, because all we knew was those bulky pads. Everybody at school knew you were on your cycle. That's
Oh,
when the boys wanted to joke with you and tell you that you had a diaper and they could see
diaper,
the back of
diaper.
your bottoms. And
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't know about the different, like you said, oh, so you can do overnight, but then with wings still? Sign me
Yeah.
up. Why did I know about this?
Why did everybody have them bulky pads back then? What, was there only one? I don't remember really. But did we only have that? A bit? Oh, anyway, yeah, I
Yep.
learned
And
that
I
was terrible.
think I think too, just knowing about different like menstrual hygiene items, because I grew up on one specific brand and I didn't learn until a few years ago that that brand has all these chemicals in it
Mhm.
that could have been contributing to my cyst, that could have been contributing to my
Oh,
dysmenorrhea, or dysmenorrhea, however you want to pronounce it.
mm-hmm.
Um, so the like you
Yes.
said, just not knowing about different items, but what you were saying about taking time to yourself. A lot of people don't realize when you lose that blood, you're losing a lot of iron,
Yeah.
phosphorus, magnesium, and potassium is what your body fuels energy with complex carbohydrates. I'm sorry, this is the nutritionist talking.
Yeah,
So, with that being said, iron is the world's greatest and largest deficiency. So, making
mhm.
sure that you have ample iron, because if you don't, iron, not having iron in your body naturally makes you lethargic. So when you're losing blood, it makes you naturally more lethargic. So I know if my cycle is going to be the first couple of days, I try not to book any meetings. If it's schoolwork that I have to do, or it's like a paper that's due that day, I try to do the paper before the due date. And just
Mhm.
like you said, take those first couple of days easy going, like to rejuvenate and to slow down and just to give your body some self love, a care, and attention. And then in a couple of days, like you said, get back to your workout routine. If it's more strenuous, if you're a go, go, go person, then you could pick that back up. But just really taking that time to breathe. But I know a lot of people sadly don't have that option to manage their time like that. They're like, hey, I have to clock
We
in
talking.
for
Yep.
work. I have to tend to all my kids. I have to do this. So it's all about just trying to give the best tools to help people manage their time so they are able, if you have to get up and go to work that day, at least try to give yourself some of that self love once you come home in
Yeah.
the evening. Or if
Yeah.
you work a later shift, try to give yourself that self love before you start your shift so you could prepare yourself for everything that you have to do. So just giving alternatives to still tend to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It's just finding the that 10, 15 minutes if that's all you got just for yourself. That I completely understand that. I'm a busy mom too. And some days you just can't take that time to sit down and relax. But 10, 15 minutes here
Right.
or there, yeah. Journaling, meditation, just for yourself. Even if you do it in the bathroom locked. Yeah, I had to do that. Yeah.
I didn't understand that when I was younger. Me and my mom talked about that. She was like, I'm locked in the bathroom trying to get my life, and your little fingers on the door, like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, leave me alone. I'm trying to catch my breath. But she said, I can't yell at you because you're being innocent. So,
Locked door in the bathroom. Yeah, that's our mommy anthem. Locked door in the bathroom. Just sitting there. Give me 5 minutes, please. It's in the bathroom. And yes, I know the fingers are not like that. I remember those. Yeah, that's
yes. So, we talked about just now things that you know now that you didn't know as a teenager. So you talked about journaling, tea, make sure you have rest, but do you have an actual regimen or ritual that you do to prepare yourself for your menstrual cycle? Some type
yes.
of routine?
Through tracking, I kind of know when my period's gonna come. So I kind of do exactly what you do. Like, hey, you know what? My period's gonna start next week. Let's kind of move this up. Let's move this down.
Yep.
I do that. I know that I have a craving for dark chocolate during my period, so I go out and get those. I always do. I go get my dark chocolates.
Yep.
The for dark, I get that. I I for the most part do a lot of. I also I think I mentioned this earlier. Schedule my beauty routines, my beauty stuff on this week. I'm like, yeah, it's a good time to get my hair done, my nails. So I that I have that ready for the week. But my routine really is just to keep it as open as possible. Try to just keep that week open and relaxed as possible, as humanly possible. I know it's like you mentioned, people have work, people have kids, people have families. But if you can, if I since I am able to, I just kind of just take it as a down week, a downtime. That's pretty much it.
I love that. I love that. I always encourage people track your period. It comes in handy for everything. And even if you're off a day or two or here and there, that gives you the opportunity to go back to previous month. Like, okay, did I do something differently? Did I eat something different? Hey, my friends are over this, it was a bachelorette party, so we had fun. Anything can contribute to why your cycle could change. But typically your tracker is on point. So it helps with vacations. It helps with planning everything. Like I literally will go to my spouse and say, hey, we're supposed to be going out of town and vacation on this month. When do you start your cycle that month? And I start mine this. Okay, so we're going to go in between, or okay, we're starting on the same week that month. Okay, great. We're going to go at the beginning of the month because we don't want anything to interfere with us having fun. So I think tracking your cycle is so imperative for people to enforce.
That was back on that other question. Like one thing I had to teach myself was that nobody even spoke about tracking your period. That took me many years. Oh, it took. I found that out recently. I didn't know anything about that, about tracking period. I was like, that's a really good idea. That was a real good idea. I love it. I just have it on my phone, the calendar. And when I start my period, I just put like the blood emoji, and I just have that, and then I can start. That's it. I don't even have to. I just put the blood emoji on that day that I start, and I'm like, okay. And then you just scroll back. Oh, okay, that's when I started my period. Yeah, I start mine around this time. So, and here's another fun fact, Brittany. I compete in nationals in July. My period's gonna be.
When you go to nationals, you're gonna be on your period again.
I can't even move it. I'm like, oh wow, okay. I was like, this is okay. So I'm already thinking, all right. So I'm gonna have to bring my my pads. I'm already planning that. Bringing my what? Oh gosh, I have to bring all my period supply stuff in there. But what are you gonna do? Look, I'm not letting it stop my life. I'm just working around it. It's not a curse.
Exactly. And even with tracking, I always in the book I have mentioned about different free apps that you can download. But I don't know about Samsung and Android users, but if you have an iPhone now has a menstrual tracker that they added in the update like a year ago. And when I found that out, I tell people like, hey, if you have an iPhone, if you go into the health app, there's a section now for your menstrual cycle where you can track your cycle. You could track your cycle, the dates, any activity that you had, what I like to call adult extracurricular activities. You can include that information, what you're eating, things of that sort, your symptoms. So I was like, okay, Apple, for stepping up and trying to become diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to menstruation. I see you. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make a note of that. I made a note of it. I'm gonna kind of put that out there. That hey guys, log on to your health app. Well, I have Apple. Check out your health app and look up for that tracker. That's really good information. I did not know that. I did not know that. That's really good information. Thank you for sharing that one.
Absolutely. So are there any last remarks or comments that you would like to share before we close out for the day, Maria?
Yes. First and foremost, a period is not a curse. It is natural. It is beautiful. It is a gift. We do not need to be stigmatized. We don't have to feel like it's a stigma. It's not a taboo. There's no more shame anymore, guys. Your body is beautiful. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's a time to relax and honor yourself. We are goddesses.
Mm-hmm. I love it. What a beautiful way to close out, guys. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back. Now, navigating to our resource center, we want to give you guys access to all these complimentary resources that we have available for you. We have our blog, book suggestions, our menstrual blood chart, exercise moves to kick cramps ass. We have recipes. We have reports, We have research studies that helps to prove how holistic approaches assist with achieving wound wellness. We have wellness tips, wellness referrals, so business organizations and individuals that we would like to refer to you that are our strategic partners, wound terminology. Maybe there's some wound options that you're not aware of. This can help you out. And lastly, yoga moves to help you kick cramps ass. Feel free to take advantage of this complimentary resource. All right, guys, now back to the show. Welcome back, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed that final commercial break of today. So again, guys, we're wrapping up May. It's the last Monday in May. So we've been doing giveaways all month long. Week 1, we did giveaways for Cramp Elixir. Week 2, we did the Goddess Bath Potion. Week 3, we did our KCA book. Week 4, we did our KCA kit, which has our book, all of our period products that we offer. And we have period products in there. So pads, menstrual discs, all organic, all natural, and feminine wipes. All right. But for everybody that actually participated in the giveaway, I'm going to do a grand prize at the end of the month giveaway for a 3-month menstrual therapy package. You heard that. 3 months for you to get your menstrual cycle journey together. All right, guys. Now, we are still accepting listeners' mail, so feel free to comment on this episode. If you would like a more personalized approach, you could feel free to email us at contact@kickcrampsass.org, which we'll put that information in the description of this episode. But to recap, guys, we did connect with Maria Lee, who is the United States of America Mrs. Nevada 2024, and her campaign, The Red Connection. Maria, do you mind plugging yourself and letting the people know how they can keep up with you?
Yes, if you want to keep up with me, give me a follow at Maria Lee _Vegas on Instagram. And for my pageant related stuff, you could go to USOA Mrs, so MRS, Nevada. And I'll be on IG. I post just about almost every day. So keep in touch there.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure we'll put that information also in the description of this episode, guys. But be sure to like the podcast, share with somebody that you feel like could resonate. All right, guys. Feel free to also subscribe to our website where you can keep up with the latest news, events, and resources that we have going on. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel where we have additional educational content and some new programs that we will be launching towards the end of the year. But if there's not anything else, guys, we want to send gratitude to all of you for tuning into today. All right, guys. And we want to manifest a positive, productive, and peaceful rest of your Menstruation Monday and your menstruation journey and the rest of May for Menstruation Month. So we'll be talking to you next Monday. Peace.
Bye.